Hello, all. Welcome to the Blossom and Brew podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Regine L. Sawyer. I'm the coordinator and founder of the Women in Comics Collective International, WINK for short. And I'm also a longtime comic book writer. And my illustrious co host is.
I am Ilka Pinero. I am the founder of the Ilka Pinero, which is pretty much me. It's a one-stop shop for shamanic work, for meditation mentorship, for executive function coaching, for writing, for performance. Basically, as bitch is working out her creative channels for money and liberation. Hi, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for having me, Jeannie. It's always lovely to be here with you.
Oh, it's lovely to be here with you too.
We were actually just talking about how much we appreciate each other. And one of the comments I had made was like how different we are and how we and that's not to say it wasn't, we didn't learning curve. Like it took us a minute, it feels like, right? Where I was just like, Christian. It was like we kind of went to that.
That is
no, that's an example. Okay, sure. Like you really not gonna stand there for 1 second and not act like you not gonna act like you didn't look at me for 10 seconds. Like, what is this one about?
No, girl, I didn't.
Fibs.
You know what? The only suspicion came in
was that white girls. What'd you say?
With a former friend of yours.
Yes, them white girls. That's what I said. I said them white girls.
Yes, that's a specific one because of how she treated other people.
Yes,
but there was always love for you, but it was just like she deals with this other lady that makes the rest of us miserable.
And that was the thing was I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that at the time.
I loved you.
Yes,
I'd love to be closer to Ilka, but that lady.
See, I had no idea. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Hold on. No, Christian was not specific. That was just like a catch-all where I was like, I don't know what's happening there.
Like I preached.
But I remember being like this slim trim kid with her head wraps and her deep voice. I was like, what an excitement. And then you know what it was? It was like my ego being vulnerable because I'd be like, I think she thinks I'm immoral. That's what it was.
No, never. I never felt like that.
So now we got to know each other, and I was just like, "Oh shit!"
I never thought.
Like there was a moment when you were like, "Let's kill him," and I was like, "Ooh."
Which ones? Who do we?
I don't know. I can't remember. It was just somebody who was getting up to some shenanigans, and you were like, "Break it all down," and I was like, "Oh, there we go." I didn't even know that my Mars was like begging for your Mars to come scoop it up. So recently.
I'm so comfortable with my Mars, and I
real talk.
Become comfortable with theirs. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be, as long as it's conducive.
True.
That's what it's about. It's about there's shadow and everything. It's like, okay, how can I take this anger and use it in a positive way? How can I, because anger can go to quote unquote, war. Like, okay, let's start this trouble. And it's like, no, it's like, let's start a movement that helps other people. And that in itself can feel almost warlike because everything you got to go through in order to get.
Well, it's good trouble, right? Rest in peace. Elder Lewis.
Yes, we lost him last week.
I mean, at this point,
he's transcended.
He has.
He did what needed to be done.
It's so interesting about that. Well, wait, hold on. Before we even get into this tangent. So all of that, what we were talking about was, what we had actually been talking about or touched on in some previous podcasts, which was this thing of like the intra-community healing that I think like Black folks are really deserving, right? And like accepting each other's differences and meeting each other where we're at and like celebrating the differences and also coalescing, the similarities and the places where we are in alignment kind of holistically. And I just was sort of patting us on the back because I feel like Regina and I are a really beautiful example of that. And you motherfuckers should stand. At any rate, that's where my head was. So this article that you sent me, which again, I must confess to everyone, I did not finish reading. Will you sort of run down the thing again with that? Let me see if I can actually find it.
Oh gosh, it was
Well,
written a
wait, let
few.
me here fill the time and I'll find it. Oh, I already found it. Look at that. Okay, let's see. It's loading. It's loading. So this is from Sorella Magazine, which this was the first I'd heard of it. Oh, and this okay, so the article is titled "Why I'm No Longer Pro Black and What It Means to Be Pro Black Women." Um, so do you remember sort of the rundown?
Well, the basic rundown was that, in general, in regards to all the things that happen to Black women,
Mm-hmm.
it, like
Mm.
despite all the things that happen to us,
Oh, I
you know,
know.
we
Okay.
prevail and help others, and especially when it comes to Black men within society, cis. I'm gonna say maybe specifically like his cis heterosexual Black men, that that like protection, that help is not extended. Like they don't fight for us the way we fight for them. Like we're quickly left to the wayside,
Right.
and that often does happen. I mean, there were a few points that she had made that that I didn't particularly agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where she mentioned that Black people as a whole just want proximity to whiteness, and
Is that the point she was making? Because I'm actually just sort of speed reading it here.
it's she has points. She has points with
Okay.
it, and you'll see the points highlighted in this nice
Yes,
little light,
yes.
light pink.
I will say that it does feel like her premise, I'm a little bit like, when was this written? Because her premise feels like it's sort of been being chewed up for a while
This is
already.
July 26th, 2020.
Okay, so it's just another okay, so we're just still chewing up this conversation of the vanishing, because I mean, I feel like the point of like, look who started the Lives Matter movement. It was these three women, and now like people don't even know their names. I actually saw their names the other day, and I already am like, shit, can't call them up. So
Yeah.
that feels like something.
Well, she did mention them and felt like their concentration has been on Black men and has not been on Black women as a
I
whole.
mean, that feels really true to me. Well, yeah, I would say that feels true to me. Like that lands. I receive that as true.
And I think partially it's because that when they started this, when they started the Black Lives Matter movement, it was because of the shootings specifically of Black men. Not
Yeah.
shootings and killings, like from Eric Gardner to, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot his name. It's horrible. The young man from Ferguson, Mike Brown. Thank you, God. Mike Brown, and Tamir Rice, and Trayvon Martin. There's all these various different young men and older men who were killed by police. That's what sort of was the springboard. But we would like that springboard to trickle down to everybody else. That's Black women, Black trans women, um, Black non-binary folks, like all of us who have been hurt and harmed by the police and the system. So I do think that that is important.
Hmm.
I do think
Uh,
that's important
I,
to be addressed. Hmm.
I wouldn't disagree.
Okay,
I,
but
I mean, we talked about this. We had already sort of started playing in this conversation on this pod, like I think a while. So I mean, I think the thing is like what I have noticed with us, and sort of what I've kind of noticed with this, because I feel like it's a really easy pattern to like get kind of stuck within, is like where are we? How do we go about finding solutions to it? Like, what are the offerings? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? This is rhetorical, obviously, but like, what do we do when we see the super problematic thing on Twitter? Like when you see the really problematic like thing where the dude says just where it's just like, wow, you really said that.
yes,
Like you really said that like blazingly misogynistic thing. What do we do? Um, right? It's like, what do we do? Like, remember that guy whose name I can never remember, the dude I met on the plane, and how like
Yeah.
we eventually like ended where he was just like this thing about women's bodies, and I was like, what? And like he didn't even get, you know. So and the reason I bring that up is because he had this like part of his defense was he was like, my boys and I just talk about this, and I was just like, so none of you are holding each other accountable, like, you know, because I am not willing to go the men are trash route because I like them. You know, like as like I like the concept of men, right? So where are the inroads? And I'm curious about who's having these conversations, like the black
I,
men that are having these conversations. Because there's like the John Wylans and the David Datas, but those are white men.
yeah. Well, I think the theory or the concept of men are trash is
I don't know why you're
valid
making me
as a
giggle.
concept
Yeah.
in terms of the misogyny, in terms of the toxic patriarchy, those inherent things that lie beneath the surface that are not addressed. And I mean, I know that I've been noticing a lot of different things amongst people that, specifically men, cis heterosexual men that I know that are in my life, that are
Mm-hmm.
friends, family, and you see certain things and you're like, oh, like they'll say certain things, and but you know that inside, in somewhere inside of them, they don't realize that that's a part of misogyny or that's a part of toxic patriarchy, and you have to point it out, and they're like, oh shoot, and I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You know, I mean, that's my 2 cents on it. There are just a lot of layers that they have not broken through that just it still needs to be addressed, still needs to be discussed. No matter how forward thinking a lot of them are, there's still a lot of trash. There's still a lot of trash. It's just it's there. It doesn't mean they can't remove it and recycle it or discard it. It's just it's sitting there. I mean, outside of people I know, I mean, I saw this thing with Talib Kweli, who's been
Oh boy.
yeah, where essentially he's being accused of, harassing this woman for the past month because she said something uh, about him seemingly alluding to him, but without saying his name or anything like that. And I guess someone brought it to his attention, and he's been like just going after her, and it's you don't have any time out of the day to this is what you have to do. This is your mission today. This is the time out of the day that you decided to assign to this woman, to this black woman,
Mm,
you know. But that's probably
mm.
that's the same story, but another story.
I mean, I don't even know if it was really an allusion to him. My understanding was that she said a lot of rappers are married to lighter skinned wives. I think it was something like that.
So that was extraordinarily general.
Yeah, that's the sense I got. And it just seemed extra odd because well the karma was swift because like in that whole thing, look at all the tea that came out about him and all of his, sort of like unsavory behaviors,
Hmm.
right? It was just like that, it was a thing about like some stuff came up with like infidelities with him, like he had, like an extra baby happening, like it was all kinds of shenanigans where it was just like you really should have just sat there and ate your food, sir. Like what, like wow. Like nothing. And that's, I mean, it's hit dogs. The thing that's
I was
amazing,
about to say, it's like hit dogs holler, but it's like you don't have to.
but this is what's wild. This is what's
Yeah,
wild to me.
sit
This is
down.
what's wild to me in terms of like in terms of the patriarchy and the whatever toxic masculinity, whatever it is, just the butt hurtness of like masks and men, and even like sidebar, even the women that are really aligning with that. Ahem.
Yes.
Certain founders of dance companies. Like wow, just in terms of that, where it's just like, are you kidding? So we're really seeing this behavior on the like micro and macro level, on the personal level. Like, what have I been talking to you about? So it's really stunning to see the like a couple of things that I've been, like we're seeing this sort of like lashing out of this absurd authoritarian, like manifested energy in all of these different ways, and like the way it's kind of rising up, in people sort of regardless of the vessel. Like it's really interesting. It kind of like the sense I get is like in the movies, like in the sci-fi movies, when like the person or the like villain or whatever the big bad is like drowning or being boiled alive, and it's sort of like the throes, while they're going down, and it's like you could still get splashed with that fucking like acid or the water or whatever, so you still have to kind of take cover. It feels like that a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Where it's just like, oh, you are dying nasty. just trying to muck it up on your way out, huh? Like, wow. And maybe that's, that feels really authentic to me in terms of its levels of like hopefulness and also, cynicism. Uh, yeah, like that. And where it's just so much, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd to see it happen. It's absurd to see it happen. Any of the places that you see it happen.
And I'm thinking about what you just said, and I think I had mentioned it previously about the theory of men being trash. And the concept, and I guess the biggest part of the concept is that toxic masculinity is trash, misogyny is trash, and the bearer of this trash doesn't necessarily have to be categorically male.
Right.
And even though they are quite often the huge bearers, like it's like on the back of their backs. we see it like Atlas carrying the globe. Like it's
I feel
blatant.
like I have to like throw salt over my shoulder because you brought that person into this space.
I'm so sorry. I throw it over your shoulder. No, but the reason I'm saying that is like what I mean is that metaphor is being I
know.
It's blatant.
She's just so terrible. Okay, yeah.
It's blatant. So and you see it. Other folks, particularly with women, all women, and I want to preface that that you see it. That you see it in various ways. It could be light, it could be, it could be extravagant, it could be whatever. And yeah, within our experiences, Ilka mentioned the dance studio. We're not going to go into any names, but people saw things for years. They saw examples of it. Maybe they didn't have a name for it. Maybe they didn't want to peg it as toxic masculinity because it was coming from this woman.
Right.
They didn't know what to call it, even though some of us with the language, like, well, that's misogyny. Like, yeah, she's a woman that
right.
Or
just create situations in which women are harmed. And
exactly.
And in this particular situation, it is so like the precision of the irony is really remarkable because of what the business itself purports to, like mission. Like that's the thing. It's just like, like it's like a chef's kiss level of like a turducken of like weird meta ironic parts. Like, wow. And yeah, so and I don't know, in a lot of ways, actually, yeah, in a lot of ways it is truly exemplary to me, because I'm just like, actually, look at all of the ways in this particular situation, even now, like even as these words are coming out of my mouth, like the way this organization is just like a reflection of all of it. Like, oh, I think it's amazing. And I'm just like, oh, wow. In another way, this place has given us a gift because we can be like, here's a great example of the way all of the things, all of your like your six, I never know what the noun is. Your 6 points, right? Or your 6 instances, yes, are all at play here. And look at the way
the ones that I give.
Yes. What do you call them? It's the 6 what? Like Regine Sawyer's 6. Regine Sawyer's
the 6 pillars of disparity. I think that's what I'm going to call
it. Yes. Hold on. Let's.
Oh, I'm so blind. The 6.
I am making a face of ugly, satisfied pride right now.
And that's toxic masculinity, toxic patriarchy, they're very similar, but still.
Right, and that's why. Okay, I still don't. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on it, but I'm with you on the journey.
Like racism,
Okay.
systemic anti-blackness, and toxic whiteness. I think I got them all right. Oh, wait, no. I think I might have one extra because I also say colonization.
See, I still like. I'm okay. We're yeah. I
And I
want
also
to chop. I
wait,
want to chop
no,
it up.
it
Okay.
is,
Well,
but I think I put in two extra. But I also
see,
discussed epigenetics.
wait.
Okay,
No, this is okay. We got it, girl. We got to get back on track.
generational trauma.
Hold on.
There's two I gotta remove. Maybe not. Just make it eight, like the eight
Pumpkin.
pillars of disparity.
Wait, let's do this later. We're just gonna call. Wait. Okay.
The pillars
We're
of
gonna.
disparity.
That's it. You read my mind. Oh my God. Frequency. Yes. Do a little dance with me real quick. Fuck them. Fuck the listeners. Let them dance with us. Dance with us, y'all.
Snapping my fingers. My fingers.
Yes. 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 The pillars of disparity. Number
But
pending.
it does. A lot of these things do
Yes.
lead to that. And anytime someone says something, whether whether it's to debate me or just in a discussion, and I'm like, here are the things. And
Right.
that's what you just said leads to this. And it's like, oh, it's like, yeah. Not that you're sitting there wanting to be right, but the more you research and the more you look intrinsically, the more that you start to really analyze what people do, what they say when interacting with you on a one-on-one basis. Not just in the media, not just through word of mouth. I mean, you see it for yourself, and you're not crazy. Like, wait, like,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like, I know I'm not misinformed is a better term. I know that this has happened. Like, this is what's going on. And yeah, the more that you bear witness and the more that you speak to friends and family, you find that this is what is happening. You have these pillars of disparity, and they're usually all interconnected anyway. So the situation usually calls for all eight. you know but it is a shame. It is a shame when you have spaces that are supposed to be safe and you realize that they're not, or they're
Yeah.
not as safe as they could be. And it begs the question, well, how do we make it safe?
Right. Like as soon as you just seconds before you said it begs the question, I felt like my very baby ever growing abolitionist lens kind of try to slide in. Like it was like, I'm small. Like and it's just like, well, how does it like okay, what does that even mean? What does that look like? What do we like how do we call in or out, or how do we invite homeostasis and healing to like exemptive behavior in the
Well,
moment is what I'm saying, because
for
I'm
a
just,
particular, like, but dealing with a particular person or particular situation.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm just like, okay, how do we, because I am thinking about all just the things we mentioned, even in our personal lives, right? So just from the microcosm, because the shamans are like, you want to change the world, change yourself, right? So, okay, how do we then, so what if it might be useful to consider it rather from the like, okay, what are these systemic changes, right? What if we just start with how do we then approach it? Like, how do we call in or out or invite homeostasis to exempted behavior when we see it?
You have to be honest. I mean, that's one of the ways. I mean, sometimes it's hard to call things out. It's hard
Yeah.
because usually there's some type of fallout from it. Because everyone doesn't agree, everyone doesn't see it the way you're seeing it. But that's one of the steps, is to call it out in a conducive way, because you want people to listen. And it's not about respectability politics. It's about, I want to say this and you get it.
And it's about harm reduction,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like
These
this
people out
really
here
interesting.
harming us.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's this kind of fascinating, like, souffle of all of it, like you kind of do have to tone police, in a way that, to use your word, like makes conducive the expression of information. Oh, I just thought of something. This is a very goofy example of a time that I think that I sort of channeled this ability. So I was speaking of actually one of those women from the past with whom I'm no longer friends. This is one of those days. Oh, you know what it was? The reason why we seemed so close was because those were my psychic hours. Remember, I had to do my field hours, and
Yeah.
that one in particular. Remember, and like she basically bought me lunch every day for 6 months, or like every week for 6 months. That's what it was. At any rate, ooh, apologies. I don't know if you heard that shenanigan on the
Yes, she
street
said it
outside.
was like
That was
your
quite
house.
untoward, sir. Absolutely unnecessary. At any rate, we were walking down the street this one day, and there was a man. There was this man. He was an angry man. Somehow we started like a young man of color, and somehow we like engaged with each other, and it was a thing where I don't. Maybe we needed a lighter. I don't know. Somehow we were like dealing with this person, and he was like he felt like his energetics, like he was very suspicious and super angry and something. And I can't remember what I said to him, but and there was a moment where I just kind of like I made this sort of energetic adjustment and like said something to him and sort of disarmed him, and like it just shifted everything. And so I think I don't know what I'm fucking saying right now because I'm formulating it literally in this moment. And I think it just feels like a creation of the places for ourselves, like really solid foundation so that we can be present in the moment to like meet each other, because it's like think about times when you have been in a shitty mood, yeah, and you have, had to deal with like a stranger or something, and had you not been in that mood, right, the interaction may have gone a different way, or had, let's say, the person with whom you were dealing had the wherewithal at the time to like be aware of that from a compassionate place and adjust, right? Because I just feel like going back to what you and I were saying about like our friendship and how it took us a minute to kind of find each other's rhythm and like find our rhythm together. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It just feels like that feels like a really important thing that I would love to cultivate in my like all of my relationships, and create spaces to be able to create spaces so that can be cultivated by larger groups of Black and brown people, which again goes back to my freedom dream of Black collective telepathy.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that because the other day there was a video going around on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it to you in regards to it was
Yes, with
CNN.
W.
CNN.
Kamau Bell.
Yes.
Yeah, I shared it in a story.
Yeah, like he's having this conversation with this couple. I think it was about the Tulsa massacre, and he asked
Something.
he asked them a question, and all they did was tilt his head, and he laughed so hard because he because he knew the answer.
Yeah.
You
Well, it was
know,
gold. I mean, it was gold. Like the thing is, we
so
all knew the answer.
yeah, we all
And it was, yeah, and it was stunning, and you could tell that like the producers had such a good time with that raw footage because the way that they produced it, like with the little sound effect, because it's so in sync. It's so just like, obviously they know each other, and so they of course have whatever, earned telepathy over time. But it was so like so
no,
very
I
Black.
don't
It
think
was so Black.
interviewing them. I don't know how well he knew them.
No, I'm talking about them knowing each other. I think they were a couple.
Oh yes, they were a couple. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm saying their learned telepathy of like how like the tilt was the same, but like kind of different,
No, but then they extended it to him, and he's like, "I know it. I already know the answer."
Well, we all knew the answer from seeing that tilt. We at home, like that's why it made the rounds because I saw it and I was like, every single one of us seeing this knows exactly what they're saying. W. Kamau Bell knows exactly what they're saying. Like we already have it. Like we already have the basic skills for it, which is why I put the instructions in my, close friends list, which is just for Black people.
On Insta.
Yes. And so, yeah, no, that's a big part of my liberation dream because I just feel like we could all be in a place together and just send the message around.
Well, I just wanted to just get back to get back to touching on the fact of of creating safe spaces. I think that's a conversation that we talk about all the time. Um, but I think we both actively do it. And I mean, that's also the other reason for this podcast is like, look, if this is something that other folks want to do, there are tools to do it. It's not impossible, but you do have to be very reflective on yourself in your own privileges and
Oh,
how you possibly embody toxic masculinity, misogyny, and the other six pillars of disparity, like where it lies within you, even though a lot of us, especially Black and brown people, we're a bit more aware of it.
yeah.
We're a bit more aware of it inside of us. It's like in terms of colorism and assimilation and things of that nature. We already know
Mm-hmm.
there are things that we would like to break. That's a part of intergenerational trauma and leads into all the things that I mentioned prior. So
Yes.
we're a bit more aware of it. So knowing that alone, you can take that and say like, okay, all the things that I need to unravel within me, I'm going to work on that. And this is how I can help others do the same. And this is how we can have a safe space because we're all unraveling together. It's like whatever you're unraveling, that's a part of the pillars of disparity.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
We can meet each other where we're at.
I feel like we have to.
I mean, we do. We have to and hold each other accountable when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to that, so that we can move forward.
It is
And
really stunning to watch, though, people get really mad about being held accountable.
that's, oh my God, I feel like that's been the topic of the decade. I mean, so
I mean,
many.
yes, I was gonna say that's I think that's been the whole thing. Is that if people are like, you know what, you're right. I'm just gonna believe that you feel harmed by a thing I did. Let's solution find. Let's try to reduce this harm. Things would be different. I mean, that's the whole, I think the whole thing is like, we're not like that's yeah, literally the thing with all of the with all of the toxic white supremacist delusion. It's killing people.
Well, we're seeing that. I mean, we're seeing that within the White House. We're seeing with this new stimulus plan, um, supposed plan, just looking
Yeah.
at
I don't
how
even know what it is. I just am like I just
well, they want to cut the PUA funds by 2/3, which is instead of the $600 a week, people folks would get $200 a week.
okay.
Yeah, on top of the unemployment they're getting by the state, and the Republican um, majority leader. I'm not
Mm.
saying his name.
Mhm.
His name.
Mhm.
He rolled out this plan, and actually, a lot of his senators are really upset. A
Mhm.
lot of their states are under siege, and they don't know when their constituents will be able to go to work,
Mm.
whether it's working from home or working in the field. But the plan also doesn't talk about the fact that, okay, so you supposedly don't want us getting all this money because you feel like it's just more incentive to stay home. Meanwhile, it's not guaranteed that your company's going to ask you back
Right.
to work, and that's the point of this. It's like make sure people can pay the basics, the basic things, you know, and so that when they can go back to work, like they're not struggling.
Right.
Like it's not a struggle. Um, but they're just thinking that everybody's a welfare queen, and it's so disgusting. And that in itself, of course, just by saying welfare queen, that's a racist right there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And now, of course, you got the other pillars that are sitting
Right.
up
Right. Right. Right.
in there, along with classism. Um, so those are your prime examples
Mhm.
of some of the things that we've been saying.
Shit. Yeah, I was actually speaking with a friend of mine earlier today. I wasn't even I have not I have sort of checked out of it all. because I'm just like, I can't, the
I get it.
theater.
I get it.
You know, I was like, let me take a couple days off because it is really, it's stunning. It's stunning to me. I guess we're gonna see. I guess we're gonna see. I mean, I was told today by a friend that 045 came out and said some version of yes, we should probably start wearing masks.
I'm like, buddy, you're about 8 months too late.
Well, I mean, but it does go back to that thing that I shared the other day from our mutual, acquaintance, our mutual person, where it was just like, oh, whoops, like it's the numbers started to come back when it was just like the people they care about. Did you not? Yeah, it was this thing where it was from the Washington Post, where it was just like a quote, where it's just like, oh, sir, like, but our people are starting to get like rocked now. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, yeah, we should, all right, let's make some changes, blah, blah, blah. And to this point, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, fine. Like, can we just be done with this? Can we just like do the thing where we take fucking care of business for like 4 to 6 weeks and just handle it like the people who know what the hell they're talking about have been saying this entire time? I mean, I think I just feel so impatient. I just feel so impatient with the shenanigans. It makes no sense to me. That's
Ironic.
all.
It makes all the sense to me.
Well, I mean, yes, yes.
Who the person is,
But,
and considering who the folks that are in office, the
right.
type of people that they are.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what I mean. I guess that behavior makes no sense to me. Just like, why would?
Well, that's because you're equity minded.
Mm.
Amongst other things. For us, for folks who are interested in the betterment of society and communities as a whole, through education, through financial means, through the various things. To us, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
People who just want to take care of their families is absolutely ridiculous. The people who just want to feed themselves is absolutely ridiculous. But you have people who are sitting up in legislation that have been there for years, eons. It feels like eons. Eons. No one has removed them from their seat. Their constituents have supported them because they felt like this person, suits their needs. And a lot of times the need has caused a lot of disparity.
Mm.
But gave them as constituents rights that they enjoyed. Or
Right. Sure.
again, going back to the 8 pillars, people are racist and they just want to see some old white man sitting up in there in Congress. You have all those layers, and now, in whatever sense, they're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this new stimulus plan is going to directly affect. I mean, it's going to affect all of us. No lie, no lie. But for folks who are now forced in their homes that weren't forced in before and didn't have the benefit of the $600 PUA, oh no, honey.
Mm.
November is in a few months. November is in a few months, and that's why the Senate leaders, his Republican fellow senators, they're pretty upset right now because they know that November's around the corner.
Scribbly, things are happening. Ba-da-doo, gonna sing a song.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell. It's all stunning.
It is.
I'm not surprised. But I'm just like, wow.
It is. I mean, and also we're dealing with these things that are happening in Portland, and which also is possibly going to be happening in other cities. So
It happened here. Did you hear about the thing that happened here yesterday?
No.
On the Upper East Side? Or
No.
yeah, I guess, yeah, because, well, lies, Chelsea. So let me get to the point. I'm surprised you didn't see this. So 25th Street and 2nd Avenue.
in New York
Uh,
City.
yes, there was a march happening, and one of those unmarked vans came and they scooped up somebody. I'll send you the footage. Yeah, girl.
So here we are. For those of you who don't realize it and still need a reality check, we are literally in Days of Futures Past, almost in the X-Men universe.
Mm.
This is part of how it starts. We are partially in The Walking Dead.
Oh boy.
Pick your apocalypse. Pick. Hey, listen. I'm not just not even a scare tactic. This is just me being the child from Mars, as you
You
mentioned.
go ahead, do it, baby. Let them know.
being that Aries, to let you know, like, yes, like there's a war going on. This is not, this is not a game. This is not for play, and then you have to figure out as a human being, what your place is in all of this and what you want to see for your community and for society as a whole. We already have internment camps.
Mm.
We already have those. We've had those for a while.
Mm-hmm.
you know and I mean, I can go in deeper, but we're on the internet. But
Exactly.
I just want
Exactly. That's why I'm just gonna sit here and cluck.
I mean, but no, I just want people to understand. And if
Yep.
you don't believe me, do your own research. Do your own
Yep.
research.
Yep.
Like, history is repeating itself, and it's important that we do what we can as a community to come together, because we're not here on this earth just to play games. If you're here, let's make it matter.
Mm.
With all the joys, with all the sadness, with all the madness, we're here. So let's make it better. Because look at what's happening out here in these streets. That's my little soapbox for the
Ashe,
moment.
baby. Ashe, mama. I'm here. I said, but do I mean, bitch? You shit. You come to my meditations. You hear what I'm on about. You hear what I
But,
be on about.
but let's talk about that a little bit, because I mean, we talked about some heavy stuff, which we always do. But how does meditation like help with that?
Oh
Because
my goodness! I'm so glad you asked. So
yeah,
from the slightly westernized perspective, meditation has been proven to help the body's immune system processes. It's been proven to lower stress response. um, did I say immune? Wait, let me start over. Immune system
you did
boosting,
say
stress response. um, those are the two big ones. Like,
mhm.
those are the two big, like, kind of western ones. Like, it's just like, yeah, no, just, oh, problem solving, things like that. So, but all of that to me, again, kind of falls under the heading of sort of like stress response, just sort of like navigating one's life, just like navigating the experience of like being a human. What I really like to stress in my practices, right, is um, meditation as a liberation tool, right? So, and by which, or the sort of specifics about that is, like, I talk a lot about like the energy body and the metaphysical musculature, and how becoming aware and honing and working with and strengthening, that body, that musculature actually really, like, that's in a way where not only can you sort of cope with the, trials and tribulations and ebbs and flows of life, but also you can kind of foresee them, and you're also able to perceive them from a more detached way. And I believe it connects you and opens up your channels to those gateways to our collective unconscious. Yes. And so that it makes it a little easier to live more efficiently and a little more safely, right? And a little more joyfully, because you're just kind of, you're able to, with much practice, right, get closer and closer to levels of harmony with the various planes and beings of existence and things that we're interacting with that don't necessarily show up on like the tangible plane, like a really kind of far out example is like Wi-Fi, and virtual intelligence and algorithms. You know what I mean? Like that's an energy with which we're interacting. Like when you're on your little device, like these things have been, designed to learn, right? So that's an intangible energy with which we're interacting. And I believe that like it's entirely possible that a meditation practice can make it a little easier, even in ways that are as like mundane and sort of day to day as like, okay, I'm not gonna go and like take this quiz. You know what I mean? Like like creating those practices and creating those brain grooves and like really engaging with one's neuroplasticity, which is another sort of westernized way of looking at what meditation practices do. um, it helps with critical thinking. It helps with problem solving. So it can be as banal as like, oh, maybe I won't, click on this ad or click on this link or whatever. And it can be as sort of like I say out there is like a good friend of mine echoed the other day something that has happened to me quite a lot, where she said, she was like, I thought of something, like I just thought of a thing, and then like Instagram was like, here's an ad for this. And she's like, I thought of it. I didn't say it. I didn't text it to anybody. I just had the thought. And the next time I opened my phone, it was there. So that may feel, and that's happened to me quite a few times. That's happened to me as often enough that I started to test it. Where I'd be like,
that happened to me too.
Yeah.
Without clicking anybody's links or anything like that. And I just popped up. I was like, what in the world?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I kind of hope that answers the question, but I feel like, and that's another thing that I always remind people, or attempts to remind people, or hope to remember to remind people in meditations is, prior, what is the word I'm looking for? Can't remember the word I'm looking for. Contrary to what like seems to be the sort of like popularly held belief ish up until this point, or like the pushed belief, or the like, highlighted belief that like things like this are, wacky. And it's like, we are all the sovereign authorities of our energetic space. At least that, like, it will be nice to be in a world where we all get to be the sovereign authorities of like all of our spaces, but unfortunately that's not the case. Right? But energetically, like your mind space, like I think with, like the application of whatever tools one needs. For some people, it is just meditation. For some people, it's meditation plus several other things, perhaps, like diet, medication, psychiatry, whatever, like how can we use meditation? How can we use an awareness and, compassionate neutrality application, right, to the fitness of our energetic body, to the like maintenance of our internal emotional guidance system. Yeah. And then, eventually, like, how can we use it to, because it's like, there's one white man in particular who, when I met him, it was just like money and jobs and blah, blah, blah. And like, he started meditating because he was stressed out at his corporate job. And then like within, a year of meditating, he was just like, wait a second, like Black Lives Matter and trans lives matter. And wait, because like he was just steadily going to this place. And that wasn't even his intention. Like his intention was to not be suffering insomnia. Right. But he just like kept returning to the meditative space and like being in that sea of like collective unconscious and oneness. And I watched it change this man before my eyes. And I was like, oh shit, great. Like, yes, like sign me up. I'm totally on board with this. So, at this point, I'm kind of okay with sounding like a broken record, but pretty much when anybody comes to me about a thing, I'm like, okay, well, have you gone to your doctor about whatever it is? Yes. All right. Are you drinking enough water? Yes. Okay. Are you meditating? Like, it's going to be in the top 3 questions. Are you taking the time to just sit with yourself? Right. And this right now is a great time to do it because we're literally it's being demanded of us that we do it. Nature literally said, go sit in your rooms and think about what you've done. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. And also, you get high, I mean, you get high on your own supply. And I love a good trip. So, I mean, it's a win-win for me is what I have to say about it, about meditation. I mean, you seem to enjoy it.
No, I do. I do.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. I mentioned this throughout the podcast.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed you do. I've seen you get high in class.
yeah, and just a state of just being at peace for me.
Yeah.
It is. You do it. Get high up. It's like, oh, like because there's revelations that happen when you're
Hmm.
in that meditative state. It's like, okay, this is how I can possibly handle this situation or not handle it.
Right.
Or just getting feeling the assurance, like, oh, everything's going to be what it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
Um, if that makes sense, or if that gives anybody comfort. I know it often gives me comfort when I meditate. It truly does, and it just helps to make things clearer. That's
Yeah.
for me. Like I'm doing these huge undertakings, or seemingly huge undertakings. They don't feel huge to me, but they sound huge when other people say it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing all those things.
Yeah, no, you be grinding, ma.
I don't even think about it. I don't think about it because just is a part of me. It's just like, okay, you want something done, you gotta do both
Mm.
things to get it done.
Right.
you know, it's like you wanna help yourself, you wanna help folks. There's certain things that you have to do as long as you feel comfortable doing it. I mean, everything I do, I tell folks like everything I do, other people don't have to do. But maybe pick one thing that you really like that helps you, but then also helps other people.
Mm.
And set aside time for that. But yeah, meditation definitely helped me be able to focus on all the things that I'm doing and continue to do. And then I also, get the reminder, Regine, go to sleep. Like it's time to rest.
Yeah.
Right. Time, time to just, sit with the cats. Time to just watch TV.
Hmm.
You know, time to just listen to music.
Yeah.
You get those.
Time to just wind it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Time for like, okay, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Sit
Yes.
down.
So in terms of community things, like
Hmm.
I would love to just have like a little FUBU meditation, where it's just like it's just us and we come and it ain't gotta be nothing but, we just meditate. We just sit there and we meditate together. Actually, excuse me. One of my favorite things, I didn't get to go today because I was running around with something, but something I really appreciate that is being offered by the Columbia grad school writing program. And it seems to just be, like the same two professors. It's not like there's a lot of professors there, but the two who do it, they switch up every week and they just have a writing hour every Wednesday around lunchtime. And they're just like, here's a Zoom link. We're just going to write for an hour. And we don't even talk. So obviously meditation would be a little different because someone would lead it. But, this thing where it's just like you come in, you wave, you don't, like I just come, I don't even turn on my camera and we all just sit there and write together. And that's a meditation in and of itself. Like that's a collective creation of an energetic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't know what the other people are writing. We don't even know who the other people are, you know? So something like that feels just like, okay, like let's take this time. Let's take this like 30 to 45 minutes to just like come together. And we don't even, I don't got to know you, just show up and show out for for your higher self. You know what I mean? For your connection to the earth and the cosmos. So that's something that yeah, yeah. And like real talk, part of my intentions, as whatever coordinator, organizer, of this would absolutely be toward like creating, that really strong and like enduring conduit of like collective Black telepathy. And that, of course, we'd have to use energetic responsibility because when we think about, not all skin folk is kinfolk, and like we got to be able to turn down certain vibrations because I'm not trying to hear what Schmerry Screws is thinking. Rhymes with Schmerry Screws. Rhymes with Schmerry Screws. Woo, girl. I got thoughts on that. I have some private thoughts on that. I don't. All I'm gonna say is just I find it kind of heartbreaking about Schmerry.
I can't even act like I know who you're talking about.
You don't know Schmerry? Okay, rhymes with Schmerry. Rhymes with Barry. Berry Blues. Rhymes with Berry Blues. Think about black people. Think about someone. Think about a black person's thought process. You would not necessarily want to, or you might, because it's
Oh
so
yeah, you got it.
Berry Blues, baby. You got it. Yes,
Right.
girl. Rhymes with Berry Blues. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
mind
I'm not.
saying I have menstrual brain right now, so
Girl, yeah, you got there. You got there. You made it.
I like I can't.
You did. It didn't take you. No, it definitely didn't take you so long that I started to be like, ooh, so you good. Because I'm quick.
You are, yeah. You're the quickest. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah. That's a different conversation for another
Child.
day. Lord have mercy.
Yes.
But, so, what are you up to for the week? Is there anything you want folks to know while we wind?
What's tomorrow? Thursday? I think we might do. Let's see. I did promise the Thursday. Whatchamacallit. Let me make sure I actually have Spache. Tomorrow is Thursday. Can I do it? Lunchtime Medi. What did I say? What time it was? 1:30. 1:30. Did I say that that's the
Something like
time?
that, like yeah, lunchtime meditation on
Midday
IG,
meditation.
midday meditation on IG Live.
You know what? Maybe we will do it on IG Live.
Okay.
I want to get it going on Zoom, but like, girl, I got the free Zoom, so it's only 40 minutes. But that might actually be a really nice parameter.
You could also use Google Meetings.
Oh, I'll try, but no, I don't want Google. I
Okay.
mean, it's like I don't know. It's just like, who do you want spying on your shit?
Yeah. True.
You know what? Maybe I'll just do. Yeah, I'll just throw a link up in my link tree and throw up a little story and see who shows up, other than
Okay.
you. Other than you, girl, ride or die in this bitch. What do you got going on? Oh God, we don't have time for this. Next week you got to tell me about Comic-Con because I want to hear about your experience of what it was like to be at home. For me, well, yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
Oh yeah.
But what you got going on this week?
This week, I'm still updating the Women in Comics website, doing
Yes.
because we've expanded our membership. I've been talking about this every week.
Yes.
And people should definitely check out what we have. Again, every week is something new that I'm adding to the website for members, and we have memberships for students all the way up through pros, all the way up through small businesses and larger institutions such as schools and museums and such. And it's for anyone who's interested in helping the overall comic book community that is now becoming filled with marginalized folks. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see, and we want things to continue to grow and flourish, and that's why it's so important to support organizations such as ours, because it does help a lot. It helps a lot, and financially, all the money goes to the members basically for all the services that they need, because we partnered with a lot of different organizations that are giving discounts to the members.
Yes.
Also partnering with other organizations to do virtual events, as well as having our
Yes.
own virtual events. Um, and we have member events such as workshops. So we want to give people the tools. We want to give people the tools to empower themselves, to liberate themselves, so they don't feel so beholden, and also so you don't feel alone. Feel alone. Like, there is community. There are people that are fighting for you, and we love it when you fight for yourself too. And if we can give you the means to fight for yourself, that's what community is about.
Yes, I'm here for
That's
it.
where the micro expands into the macro comes in. Like, we're all making it work, and trying to do or actually doing something conducive and positive. So that's what I'm still working on. And I'm also working on some writing and so forth. If you go to Blurred Galaxy magazine, I have a few articles up there from San Diego Comic Con. I think I'm going to write one more this week. So yeah, things are happening. Things are popping.
Hot. That actually reminds me, I'm still doing this. When you said website, yes, like I'm real excited about this tiered pricing. Um, like this coming out because it's all in alignment with like how like, and I actually, I learned it by watching you.
Oh,
Uh,
I
and
love it.
like this other shaman that I adore, like because I've wanted it the whole time, and it just sort of felt like with I don't know with like programming or coding, whatever, it was just like weirdly out of reach or something, and now it just really it feels like it's so close to happening. Because it just feels really important to be able to offer it to as many people as possible. And I feel like part of the growing baby abolitionist lens is well, I don't even know what to call it, right? Because like we gotta like you need money to pay for things,
Yes.
right? And so it was that day when you were like you're absolutely not a nonprofit, and I was like you're right when you were like clarifying for me, like the like pay it forward sessions, and yeah, I just feel like we are really being asked right now to, everybody's saying it to some degree, like vision a new thing, like how do we assign value? To what do we assign value? How do we share that value? Um, right. And then how do we yeah, you're right. I am really equity minded. Yeah. How do we fucking do that?
Yes.
Like, I don't, yeah. Cause it's just like, the levels, like just with my like pretty privileged existence, if we're being honest about it, which we are. The levels of like the ways in which I've experienced exploitation and just sort of like, emotional abuse and things like that, like at the hands of like people who claim to love me. That's a whole other different conversation. Um, like, how do we interrupt those patterns as a collective, or as much of us who want to, or who willing to, how do we create practices to interrupt those patterns? How do we create practices to alert each other with that compassionate lens of like, hey, you might be dipping into those practices, like, like, hey, let me point this out to you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then how do we receive that call in, when our behaviors are exemptive or transgressive?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the shit I'm thinking about.
Okay. Okay.
And also how hot it is.
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. So, with that said, stay cool out there, y'all. It is a
That's
heat
right.
wave. This week's it's specifically on the eastern seaboard, but I think that it's been spreading across the country. So
Do we
yeah,
know when it's breaking?
it kinda.
Girl, I'll look. I'll see. I'll
But
look
in
and
the
see.
meantime, stay cool. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each
Yes.
other,
Yes.
and we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.
Well,
Bye.